what's up, everybody? I'm uptown on the east side, and I'm taking 125th over to the west side. Heading back to Upper West Side. East side of Harlem is not really good anymore right now. You know, after the pandemic hit really hard, east side really became rough. But the west side of Harlem is pretty nice. If you go along here, like 125th, and you get to there's a Whole Foods. I'll show you guys. It's a really nice. Making a left turn there, you're not even allowed. But you know, who cares, right? That's one thing you have to be aware of now. Like, you just don't know what people are gonna do. Like that guy, I had no idea what he was doing. I don't know. I just get around him as quick as I can without getting T-boned, you know, because someone like that, if they pull a U-bopper in front of you, then what are you going to do? Like this guy, no blinker, no nothing. I can only imagine it's done on purpose. But that is a nice Honda. Like, why would you want to get your Honda scratched up? Because you're driving with no indication of where you're going. Anyway, this is getting to the west side of Harlem, but you can see here, like, this is really nice. You got Marshalls, you got Staples, CVS, Whole Foods. That's a good Whole Foods. You got Victoria's Secret. There's an H&M. There's everything is here. Really good shopping here. Apollo Theater up ahead. Well, I like Harlem. I used to live in Harlem, and I live in East Harlem though. East Harlem. The problem with East Harlem is that when the pandemic hit, after a year, you know, about a year after the pandemic hit, you know, Harlem just started becoming really unsafe. East Harlem, anyway. I don't know about West Harlem, but East Harlem's, you know, here's the H&M. East Harlem started getting, you know, just out of control. Like, I lost a bike. I lost a Suzuki DR650 that was old, you know, and I took good care of it. But it was running like a top, like, and it looked cool. Like, it was a good looking DR650. I had, you know, blacked out the rims. Did what I could to make it nice, and it looked really decent. That's probably why they stole it. But I never figured, like, it was just beyond me that someone would steal that, because I didn't think somebody would. You know, it was a 2003, and you know, it was original parts. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. The seat was new. Exhaust was new. But I guess when all the parts together, and it's a running bike, you know, it was good to go, and that's why they stole it. Because it had function and value, and of course, I think when they steal bikes here in New York, there's two purposes for it. Like my nice Honda XR650, that they're gonna sell it or part it out or whatever. I mean, the engine alone on that thing is big money. look at like the the 2003 DR650. That, I don't think they'll sell that. I think what they'll do is they'll use that to run around the city and do their thing. That's probably what will happen. It seems to me anyway. Because I see people committing crimes and getting away on motorcycles, and it seems to me like it's a perfect storm, because what they'll do is they'll just take the plate off of it. They won't even leave the plate on it, because basically when you drive a motorcycle in New York, if you take your plate off, you're basically saying this is what I'm doing. They put a statement forward about what I'm planning on doing, how I'm planning on driving. They just lay it out there. But that's basically how it goes. Like when people have no plate on their bike, they're doing it for a reason. They're stating, this is the type of rider I am. This is what I'm doing. Like it's not a question. They're not trying to debate with anybody and there's a lot of that going on right now. And then of course there's the whole sector of scooter delivery vehicles, guys doing Uber Eats. They have no plate on their bike because they can't afford the summonses, parking summonses, all the things that come along with having a legally registered bike. That's what I've gathered, what's going on. But definitely, you'll see like dudes like today I was at a traffic light and a dude came up behind me and just went right around. He was on a sport bike with no plate at all, not a bent plate, nothing, no plate. And then he was just like went around me, went right through the light. And basically, that guy is making a statement. I am who I am. I'm driving my bike the way I want to, and I'm not identifying myself in any way whatsoever. That's basically what they're also saying. You don't know if they're a criminal. You don't know what. Now there's a whole other sector, and I'm not going to say which camp I'm in, but I will say this. You can't drive around New York City on a motorcycle with your plate fully exposed. Not if you use your bike for work and you go around. You've got to figure something out. And I'm not going to go into it, but you've got to do something. So there's that whole camp there. Bent plates, obstructed, and I'm not pointing fingers or saying anything or judging anyone, because I know for a fact that if you guys probably saw that flash behind me. You can't drive around New York all day for work, and you're just gonna, all your money's gonna be gone for summonses that you're gonna get, and they're gonna accrue fines, and they're just gonna go up in amount, and it just gets crazy. So basically, you just can't do that. It's not an option. But definitely, there's a whole camp. There's three camps. There's delivery drivers, no plate, 50cc bike. Might even be more. Like I've been seeing, even two-cycle. Running two-cycle. I talked about it in another video. That's the situation right now in New York. But that was never, before the pandemic, was never like that. There was the camp of hiding plate. And then there was the illegal. Oh no, there's four, because there's also the dirt bike riders. That ATV and dirt bike, and they fall into their own category all together. They ride in groups, and their bikes are 100%. Well, no, I shouldn't say that, because I see some guys with those groups like with DRZ 400s, but they don't have any plate or anything. But I don't know if they're DRZ 400Es. The off-road only model. But basically, there's the four camps. You've got the delivery drivers that don't have any plate because it's just too expensive to operate a vehicle, that you were going to register and pay all these camera tickets that you're going to get, and then of course if you're parked outside a restaurant to pick up a delivery, traffic enforcer, they need to get a certain amount of tickets every month. So if they see a bike with a legal plate on it, they'll slap a ticket on it. If they see a bike with dog shit on it, on the plate, and they can't read the plate, they will not touch it. I mean, they just absolutely will not. And I know, ask me how I know. Well, I'm not going to say, but it's true. They will not touch it. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to get shit on their hands, and they're like, fuck that. I'll go to the next vehicle that has a visible plate. So that's the delivery. So you got the delivery drivers. Then you have the riders that ride sport bikes and they took off their plate and they do not want to be identified. And then you have actual criminals going around either stealing other bikes or breaking into cars or whatever, but they're actual criminals, and their plates are not displayed. And interestingly enough, they're not driving nice bikes. They're usually driving scooters or something, but they're nothing to do with delivery drivers. They're just they're not in that camp. So you got the delivery drivers, no plate, kind of can understand it. Then you got the oh, that was funny. That woman was like, go ahead, come on, get out of the intersection. So anyway, delivery drivers, criminals is your next camp. Sport bike riders that don't want to be identified and will not pull over when at all. They're not going to pull over at all, like nothing. Even if there's a roadblock, they'll run up the sidewalk, almost hit people. They're out, and then then you have ATV riders. So there's four kinds of well, actually, there's actually five, because the camp that I fall into, is obstructed plates, or something. I don't even want to say that. Sometimes you fall into that because your plate might not be sitting correctly that the camera can read it. But let me go over it again. So you got the delivery drivers, Uber Eats, all that stuff, riding scooters, no plate, because their vehicle is under 50 cc's, but not always the case. Like, it might be a 150 cc scooter, 2-cycle engine on it with oil mix, not registerable, but they'll be driving it to deliver food. And it could be as high as 150 cc's. I've even seen a guy the other day delivering food on a 250 cc scooter with no plate on it. He had a big Grubhub bag. So that you got that. So those guys are doing what they can to make a living. I'm not going to fault them. Then you got the sport bike riders with no plate, don't want to be identified. They're usually running by themselves. They're lone soldiers. They just run it. They might be on the highways looking for a car to run with. They want to race. They want to do their thing, but they do not want to be identified. And probably for good reason, because if you're out in the highways and you're looking to run with someone, I got to admit, that's pretty fun. Like you getting out on the highway and run with someone with a car that also doesn't have a plate, and they could just, they're not racing for money or anything, but it's a status thing, They do that. Then you got riders that have plates that they don't want tickets, They have a legal registered vehicle that might have a plate that is a little bit obstructed, but totally legal. Like if they were pulled over, they don't have to worry. Your vehicle's legitimate. You're not going to get towed, so you don't have to freak out if a cop jumps in front of you. I like that scenario, you know? You don't have to freak out. A cop jumps in front of you. You don't have to like do something crazy, commit a felony. You know, you're okay. Your vehicle's good. It might have a little bit of obstruction. Worst thing you're gonna get is like a ticket for obstructed plate, if they even feel that. You know. Then you have the ATV riders. Those guys are in their own camp. They run in groups around the city. Usually only in the summertime. I haven't seen them in a while. They don't really ride in the cold. And, you know, they tramps around the city. They don't hurt anybody. At least I don't think they do. But I've never seen them hurt anybody. But they get pretty crazy. But they do their own thing and mind their business. I got no problem with them. Their bikes are not registerable, though. So even if they wanted to get a plate, they couldn't, because they're off-road vehicles. I don't think they could. The title, I don't even think could be done, because the title couldn't even be converted, because it's an off-road vehicle. Well, anyway, I'm glad I had a little lesson with you guys about what types of vehicles are on the road in New York right now. And now, before that, it wasn't like that. Before, it was just, there were ATV riders, and there were motorcycles. You know, there were absolutely none of those scooters, because the police would just confiscate them right away. You know, those 50cc, they were not allowed in New York at all. But I noticed now they kind of just let it go for delivery drivers. That was during the pandemic. Electric, like that Rebel there, electric is now allowed. So electric scooters, they won't confiscate even after this pandemic gets resolved and everything goes back to normal one day, if it ever does. But anyway, electric actually seems like a really good idea in New York too. A good way to get around. And I guess ridership